his exact words, "We will be with you until the end." And then I asked him what sort of regime we are going to have. He said, technocrats, people who represent the Afghans. And this is totally the opposite. After 20 years of, Britons have spent 27, 28 billion. 400 or 500 British kids died in Afghanistan. The West never counts the bodies of Afghans because they don't matter to the West. These are just Afghans. If they kill, they are killed. 3 to 400,000 Afghans. And then suddenly, the Scottish kids, I live in Glasgow, I know their families, what are you going to tell the families of those kids who were killed in Afghanistan, sent to Afghanistan to fight the Taliban, and suddenly, overnight, you empower them? That, don't get me wrong, you are a journalist and you are a very clever man. I follow your talk show all the time. It is not possible within 24 hours or in a week for the Taliban to topple a regime, who has a regular army, some sort of army, police and other institution. It was a pre-planned thing by foreign powers, especially Britain and America, to hand over Afghanistan, give them the keys of Afghanistan to the Taliban. It's not that easy. Everyone abandoned the army and everyone went home. The most vicious warlords and drug lords that Britain empowered in Afghanistan, they are left by private jets and private airlines yesterday from Kabul airport.
We have to go to the news. I'm very grateful for you for taking the time to talk to us. That's Mohammed Asif, who runs the Afghan Human Rights Foundation in Glasgow. 6:32, here's Thomas with the headlines.
The Foreign Secretary, Dominic Raab, has admitted the government was surprised by the scale and pace of the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan. The UN says there are chilling reports of human rights abuses as the militants take control. At least 7 people have been killed in chaotic scenes at Kabul's international airport. The airfield's been closed to civilian and military traffic after thousands of people stormed the tarmac trying to flee. A silence has been held in Plymouth for the victims of last week's mass shooting. 5 people were killed by 22-year-old Jake Davison, who had his gun returned to him after it was confiscated by police.
LBC Business Update.
With Direct Line Landlord Insurance. Insure up to 15 properties on one policy.
A US defence firm has agreed a takeover of a British rival worth more than £2.5 billion. Cobham, known for its pioneering air-to-air refuelling technology, is buying Ultra Electronics. It's offered a range of security and job commitments to the UK government. The weather: rain, drizzle and low cloud in the northwest, spreading across much of Scotland and northern England tonight. More showers in Wales, the Midlands and eastern England later. A low of 11 Celsius.
LBC. Selling your car can be a tough job, but there's no drama with Motorway. At motorway.co.uk, you can sell your car like a pro. Motorway finds your best offer from a nationwide network of verified dealers. You can get up to £1,000 more than part exchange. Go to motorway.co.uk and sell your car like a pro.
Woodwind. Brass. Strings. When individuals obsessed with perfection perform as one, the result is spectacular. At Darwood & Tanner, we're proud to work in partnership with your dentist on our quest to create the perfect implant solution, even in the most challenging of cases. Darwood & Tanner, your smile is our healthy obsession.
This summer at TalkTalk, we've got deals that make sense. Our new Fibre Plus packages offer everything you get with our standard and limited fibre broadband plans, plus award-winning online security, plus guaranteed fixed prices from just £26 a month for 18 months, plus the latest Amazon Echo Dot with Alexa, plus an Amazon Smart Plug. When you add it all up, it just makes sense. Fibre Plus packages from TalkTalk. For everyone, search TalkTalk Fibre. Offer ends 8 September. £4.95 post and packing. T's and C's at talktalk.co.uk.
Just think, an office deep clean that helps protect your workplace for up to 28 days. That's Ice Shield from Ice Cleaning. Using electrostatic technology, Ice Shield is effective at protecting the workplace, giving peace of mind for a safer working environment for up to 28 days. Protect your team with Ice Shield from Ice Cleaning, the UK's cleaning experts. icecleaning.co.uk. Philip Schofield here. Imagine Imagine you're buying a car. You've negotiated a deal to trade in your old one, and you're about to sign on the dotted line. But wait a minute. Easy, Tiger. Before you agree, it's worth remembering that buying without part exchanging could get you a bigger discount on your next car. So why not check out WeBuyAnyCar.com? Good boy. To find out how much your car's worth in 60 seconds, enter your reg number now at WeBuyAnyCar.com.
I'm Miffy Medlight. For more information, see WeBuyAnyCar.com/info.
Eddie Mayer on LBC.
With Sage, pulse your business admin from anywhere.
We'll carry on the conversation, of course, about Afghanistan. 0345 6060973. First, as always around this time, the COVID report, all the COVID headlines in one place. Here's LBC's Vicky Smith.
As of today, the COVID self-isolation rules have changed in England and Northern Ireland. People who are fully vaccinated now no longer have to quarantine if they come into contact with someone who's tested positive for coronavirus. It also includes under 18s. Instead, they are advised to take a PCR test, but it's not compulsory. Many businesses are welcoming the change in guidance, with several industries in the past weeks and months reporting disruption due to staff being pinged by the NHS app. Jo Myers owns a restaurant in Leeds and told LBC that it will make a huge difference to hospitality. She had to close completely for 2 weeks due to staff members being told to stay at home.
For a small operation to lose 2 weeks of income was very, very difficult. I was very apprehensive about whether we'd be able to survive if we did it, had to do it again. It's been very difficult to plan anything and to take any kind of control over your own business. And we've gone through recessions where you adapt. This is the first time that I feel that as a business we've had no control over what we do.
Whilst the Health Secretary's called the relaxation of the rules another step towards normality, some scientists have warned that fully vaccinated people can still get infected and infect others. The British Medical Association says the public should stay cautious. It's also called on the government to think about widening the list of COVID symptoms to make sure that it's up to date as possible and that cases aren't missed. Dr. Deepak Dwartnath is the medical director at North Tees and Hartlepool Foundation Trust.
It's the next step back to normality for the country, for the NHS and other businesses. I think it's a good step, but we still have to be cautious. COVID has not disappeared. Every time we have a change in the isolation rules, there tends to be a little spike upwards in infections and probably hospital admissions. Hopefully that will not be too great.
Now looking at how COVID is impacting around the world, organisers of the Paralympics in Tokyo, which is due to start next week, have confirmed today that there will be no spectators to prevent the spread of coronavirus. People are also being asked not to go to the roadside to watch any of the events. There are reports that Japan is preparing to extend the state of emergency in Tokyo and some other regions until the middle of September due to rising cases. Meanwhile, in Thailand, police have used a water cannon and tear gas to disperse protesters in Bangkok who are angry about the government's handling of the pandemic. It's the second day that hundreds of people have marched on Government House claiming the country's vaccine rollout has been chaotic. And we have had the latest data on coronavirus across the UK. Firstly, NHS England says the number of coronavirus patients in hospital has risen to its highest level in 5 months. As of 8 a.m. this morning, there were just over 5,400 being treated. In the past 24 hours, 26 more people have died in the UK with COVID. Another 28,000 cases have been reported, and there has been another 150,000 vaccinations.
Vicky Smith with your COVID report. By the way, we had a conversation earlier with one listener who referenced Ben Wallace, who was on LBC this morning talking to Nick. She heard the clip and is of the opinion, our listener was of the opinion, that it's highly likely, she said, that Ben Wallace had benefited personally from the Afghan war because of his directorship of a company. Obviously, Ben Wallace isn't here to speak for himself. We are going to put in calls to the MOD just to make sure that he has a right to reply to that serious allegation. It's 20 to 7. Let's hear from Johnny in Finchley as we talk more about Afghanistan. And Johnny, you've also got a connection to the country.
Yeah, hi Eddie. Yeah, I served there in 2011, 2012 as one of the few non-native Pashto speakers, one of the many languages of Afghanistan. And apologies if you hear a baby in the background, who's currently fighting over Rosk with a military schnauzer.
How old is the baby?
16 months, and to be honest with you, that's what prompted me to call, because looking into her eyes this morning and thinking about her future, this is something that's massively affecting my community of those of us, I think 180,000 of us that served in Afghanistan. And lucky enough to come home without an injury, but I think we're just at the start of the moral injury that my community is feeling right now. And I'd just like to say to the Afghans that might be listening today, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry that we've walked away from you. I'm sorry to my friends left behind, including my own interpreter that I work very closely with. And yesterday was the first time that I actually looked at my photos of Afghanistan for a number of years, and just to see his face, which I did share on Twitter and blanked out his face, and obviously know his name. But the fate of him in Kabul, seeing those people desperately trying to leave the city and their country today, filled me with the most amount of shame I think I've ever felt about our time there. And I think us as a community need to group together. And I have to say, just to Mohammed, we absolutely, your previous caller, Afghans are absolutely at the forefront of my mind. And to a man and woman I've spoken to today, and our phones have been red hot today as a community, the first and foremost priority has been our Afghan friends, as well as the memories of those that have failed, including my friend Squadron Leader Downing. But we have, as a community, mourned as well today. And I know I've been able to help at least one person today via a Member of Parliament, Alicia Kearns, who I'm enormously grateful for her support. But it's heartbreaking.
Well, thank you for saying all of that. And you remind me of a caller right at the end of Sheila's programme earlier, a serving soldier who rang in to make a point that hadn't really occurred to me, and that was very stupid of me, that people in her position, other people who've served, anyone who's been in, like you, in Afghanistan, that they will need, they might well benefit from help and conversation today, and that people should phone their friends, and you used the word community many times. People should contact those they know, because, well, who knows what feelings might be brought up by the tumult that's going on.
Absolutely. There's the armed forces community, which there are 2.4 million veterans in this country, joined every year by about 15,000 service leavers. We are a tight community, and I've seen it come together in the last few days and weeks. And what I'd urge any of you from the armed forces community, do reach out. Op Courage is available to you. I've actually been a beneficiary from that. Incidentally, not from military service, though, from an accident, but that trauma that we're experiencing at the moment and that moral injury is just the start. And yeah, the migration crisis, as Farage gesticulates off the coast, the Kent coast, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. Where do you think these people are going to go? They're going to head north if they can, into safety. And to hear the Foreign Secretary talk about sanctions, the only people that's going to hurt are the Afghans itself. The people in power there's a centuries-old Hawala network where they move money around. I mean, how on earth do you think they've got drugs out of the country all these years? Through that ancient Hawala network. That'll be just fine, thank you very much, their economy. But the only people going to hurt are the Afghans. And as void we've left behind, what do you think the Chinese are going to do? They're going to march right up the Wakhan corridor and continue their aggressive economic expansion into Afghanistan. The Iranians, the Russians, you name it. So economically, they're going to be just fine, thank you very much. I don't think sanctions are necessary. And then the other dynamic really to stress home is, 40% of the country are Pashtuns, in the language that I speak of their race. And the ancient Pashtunwali code of conduct that predates Islam. One of those tenets is Badal, revenge, which is why I'm absolutely petrified for people like my interpreter and the locally employed civilians that served us alongside us each and every day, debt will be passed on to their children. And as I look at my child right now, it fills me with absolute dread that intergenerational revenge will be passed on. And I just really would like to express again to the Afghan community, we're with you. We mourn with you. We feel the pain. I'm just so sorry.
What should Britain's response be then?
Well, last count, I think it was about 40 countries were involved in the ISAF mission, NATO. It's not a unilateral response, it's a multinational response, and we keep looking to America. But, you know, there are other countries within that family that had the Afghan experience. We also need to stop looking through this through the eyes of a nation state. Afghanistan as a state, you know, is a multifaceted tribal community. And if you look at the Pashtun race, you know, it's bisected by a line that we created in 1898, the Durand line. That bisects between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So we need to look at it, continue to look at it through. Have we learned nothing? But we've spent so much time fighting an insurgency and understanding tribal dynamics. We need to return to that. Afghans in Helmand, where I served, you didn't give two hoots about the government of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan. From my experience, it was about the security and the Afghan National Police that I trained. We enabled them to provide that security, that framework to prosper economically and live a happy life, and for us to build schools as I did, and to see children return to education. So all of that framework has been removed. So there you go, the schnauzer in the background, nice one. So it's about that. So the response needs to be multi-nation. Economic sanctions are definitely not the way to go. And the UN, you know, oh, come on, give me a break. Anyone taking the Taliban at their word at the moment that they're open to dialogue is a fool.
Johnny, I'm grateful for the call. Just tell me finally, who won the battle of the Rusk, your daughter or the Minish Schnauzer?
He's currently she's got Gary the gorilla as a sidekick at the moment, but she's got crumbs around her face, so I would say 1-0 to baby Margot.
I'll let you get on. Love to Margot. 6:48, here's Thomas with the headlines.
The head of the United Nations has warned governments not to abandon the people of Afghanistan. Another 200 British troops to be sent to the country to assist with the evacuation effort. The Queen has sent a message of condolence to Haiti, where 1,300 people are now known to have died after Saturday's earthquake. The weather, rain in the northwest spreading across much of the UK, a low of 11 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Dave Goff. There are long delays on the M25 anti-clockwise to the Dartford Tunnel from junction 3 for the M20. That's after a number of cars broke down earlier on. In Hendon, the North Circular Road westbound stays blocked at the Brent Cross flyover because of an accident, and there are queues from Finchley